Hi, it's KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guest today is Steve Shanley from the Cedar Rapids Municipal Band. Back for another week of concerts, week 3. Where's the band this week?
We will be, interestingly enough, already back at McGrath and back at Bever, where we played during the first couple of weeks. But we scheduled it on purpose that way because of this very special event we have week 3, which is a double header with Iowa Brass. So I'm trying to make very clear, we do not start at 7:30. We are going to start at 8 o'clock. And the Iowa Brass will start at 7 o'clock. So doubleheader, they play from 7 to 7:45. We play from 8 to 8:45. And we do have some of those preview or prelude concerts throughout the summer that happen at 6:30. This is not one of those. This is very much, I hope everyone will treat it as a double billing. Both groups are outstanding, and I think it's going to be a fun night of music all around.
So I know I've talked to members of Iowa Brass periodically over the years, but tell me a little bit about that group. Does it share a lot of personnel with the Muni Band?
It shares some, and it kind of depends on the week. This week, I think we have 3 or 4 brass players who are crossing over, so I was trying to be aware of that when doing part assignments and selecting the music. But also some of them in there, people like David Lang, for example, sort of take great pride in like, yes, I can do both of those. Don't take it easy on me. I'll be just fine.
That's right. You could drop the hammer.
So, yeah, the group for many years, I think, and I'm no expert on this, but I believe it was founded as the Eastern Iowa Brass Band.
That's my recollection.
If it was not founded that way, it pretty quickly became the Eastern Iowa Brass Band, and that's what I remember when I was growing up. And they rebranded as Iowa Brass a few years ago. And it had a history, I believe, for a long time in Mount Vernon with the Steins and the Mount Vernon schools. There was kind of a tie-in there. And then Earl Dickinson conducted it for a while. And then I believe there was one conductor in between Earl and Alex Beamer right now, and the name is escaping me, but a really fine group and a different model than the municipal band. The members are volunteer, but quite outstanding. And my wife and I had the good fortune of attending the worst brass festival ever this last weekend in the Amana colonies and hadn't been there before. And even though I know a number of people who have been playing in brass bands, I have never been to one of these brass band festivals. And I think the only brass band I've ever heard is the Eastern Iowa Brass Band or Iowa Brass. So to be there and just sort of see that culture was pretty fun, pretty cool. Just a whole bunch of people enjoying making music and at a really high level.
Is there a set configuration for a brass band?
There is, yeah, from what I am discovering. And I've done a little bit of writing for brass bands over the years, and they will just tell me it's this many of this instrument and this many of that instrument and so forth. But basically, they kind of try to mimic the orchestra or the concert band by having all of those voices covered. So all of the things that you might hear flutes or clarinets or violins do, they've got some trumpet players who play really high and really fast and can do all of those things. And they're usually about 35 members or 40 members, so usually a little bit smaller than a concert band, which I think makes things more difficult because there's sort of more exposure. You as an individual are going to be more obviously heard when there are fewer people playing, but then also there's the endurance factor too, that when there aren't more people playing, you have to play more of the time.
You can't take a little break in between
gotta have your
Metro
chops.
32 and 38.
Yep, got to have your chops in shape. I'm excited because the programming for this week is going to be slightly different than the usual municipal band formula that I and most other bands in the country kind of tend to follow. I noticed that the brass bands, they kind of have the proportion a little bit more towards the pop side of things. So it's going to be probably a higher percentage of music that the audience is going to recognize, and then maybe 1 or 2 sort of more artistic pieces or classical, if you want to call it that, pieces thrown in.
That's part of the fun with a band like this.
It is.
Saying, all right, yes, you're going to see all these trumpets and trombones and tubas and French horns, and they're going to play
music from ABBA and music
Lady
from
Gaga.
Queen. And yes, exactly. So I thought we wouldn't adopt that completely, but we are definitely tending more towards the pop side of things with some Broadway and film music and things like that. So we will be doing a little bit of a tribute to one of my musical heroes, Elton John. So this was kind of a fun excuse to program a medley of his music. Then mostly it's going to be film and Broadway. We'll have a little tribute to Wicked, nice medley from that. The Danny Elfman music from Nightmare Before Christmas. Thought a little Christmas in June would be great, but that music is just wonderful. So for people who haven't heard that, you're going to very much enjoy that. Alan Silvestri wrote a wonderful march for Captain America, the Captain America March. Thought this would be a good time to pull that one out as well. Then a little Broadway medley. And then I discovered a really nice arrangement of Autumn Leaves, which is kind of popular jazz standard, that Alfred Reed, the great band composer for many decades, did a beautiful setting of that I was completely unaware of until I found it a couple of weeks ago. So looking forward to that as well.
So the Muni Band in action for week 3 in McGrath Amphitheater on Wednesday.
McGrath on Wednesday, Bever on Sunday. Reminder, 7 o'clock start time for the brass band. Then about a 15-minute changeover, and the municipal band will go on at about 8 o'clock.
I couldn't make it to one concert, but I did watch the live stream on Facebook, and that sounds great. It's not as good an experience as seeing the band live. At least you come away feeling that
if it's really hot and windy, or windy or rainy, it might be better watching it live. But yeah, Justin Comer and his crew do a wonderful job with video and especially the audio.
Yeah, the audio sounds really good. People can log on to your website or visit you on social media, primarily Facebook, if they'd like more information. And what is the website?
crmuniband.org.
All right, come back next week and we'll talk week 4.
Thanks, Dennis.
Thanks, Steve. You can hear the Culture Crawl live on the radio most weekdays at 10:30, on demand at kcck.org/culture, or subscribe using your favorite podcast player. Watch our videos on the KCCK Facebook and YouTube channels. Our producer is Lydia Kilgore. The Culture Crawl theme is composed by Vivian Shanley. I'm Dennis Green, and I'll talk to you later.